Chicken Parmigiana, Chicken Parmesan, or simply Chicken Parm. Today, you'll learn how to nail the ultimate Italian-American comfort food. Welcome back to the Dalstrong Culinary Academy. I'm your host, Souza, and joining us once again in the test kitchen is Chef Gaetano Ferrara. We're making what might be the most beloved Italian-American dish of all time, Chicken Parmigiana. This classic has a story that might surprise you. Chef, what's on the menu today, and why is this dish so special?
For me, I think what makes this dish so special is that pretty much every Italian-American person has probably had this at a family gathering, leftovers for school the next day, just a random lunch, when you get home from a night out. Something in the fridge, you're gonna go to it, and it's comfort food.
Well, let's get into our ingredient deck then, shall we?
Absolutely.
What goes into it?
For today, we're gonna do a few things. So we have a little bit of tomato passata, and we're gonna make a basic passata tomato sauce.
Okay.
Passata just means strained tomatoes.
Okay.
And you'll see them in jars. They're usually about a liter, and that's kind of what we're using today. So we're gonna cook this sauce down, and that will be the basis for our chicken parmigiana.
Okay.
Then we're also going to do a little bit of a riff here and make it a little bit more high-end restaurant style. So there's some really cool tricks we can do with some cherry tomatoes, garlic, and some fresh herbs. And that'll be more of a acidic, fresh, summery kind of burst to bring that chicken parm to life. So it's not just the standard stewed tomato sauce.
Is one more acidic than the other, and how does that affect the dish when you're eating it?
When we have tomatoes like plum tomatoes like this, they're going to be a little bit more high on the acid side. So we need to cook that down.
Got it.
Okay. That'll help bring out their natural sweetness. Cherry tomatoes are already naturally way more sweet.
So while Chef preps the garlic for our sauce, let's talk about the origins of Chicken Parmigiana. And this is where it gets interesting. Back in southern Italy, we're talking 17th, 18th centuries, families were making something called melanzane alla parmigiana. Same technique, same cheese, but instead of chicken, eggplant. Why? Simple economics. Chicken was expensive. Eggplant you could grow in your backyard. Then came the great Italian immigration to America, about 4 million people between 1890 and 1920. And these immigrants discovered something amazing. Meat was cheap and plentiful in the New World. So they started experimenting. Chicken replaced eggplant, more cheese became available. By the 1950s, Chicken Parmigiana was showing up in cookbooks and restaurants across America. All right, so you've peeled your garlic, you got your stems and your basil here. And we're making two different sauces, right?
That's right. So the first one we're gonna make is our passata style tomato sauce. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a couple garlic cloves. I'll take 3 small ones, just like that. Because you don't want it too garlicky, okay? Just give them a crack with the bottom of your wrist. Okay, and we're gonna add some olive oil.
Of course.
Not too much, just a little bit. And we wanna cook that down, get some color on it.
Okay. Now, when you say color, why is that important? What's that for?
We want to caramelize our garlic a little bit, and the reason why we want to do that is because it kind of tones down the strength of the garlic.
Okay.
Also, even at this stage here, I like to just crack my pepper right into that oil, and I like to toast the pepper, right? We're trying to bring out as much flavor as naturally as we can. Okay?
But we are grinding it in fresh. We're not throwing in whole peppercorns for this.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Just everything ground up, ready to go, so that it doesn't get in the way when we want to eat later. Okay.
Perfect.
You don't want to go too hot because you don't want to risk burning your garlic.
All right.
Okay. So now that my garlic is nice and golden brown, my basil stems, it smells super fragrant. Now I can go ahead and remove it from the heat. I'm going to add my tomato sauce.
The passata?
That's normal. This sputtering is normal. Don't worry about that. And then we are going to let this cook for anywhere from an hour, 2 hours, 6 hours, depending on what flavor you want. The longer you cook it, the better your sauce is going to taste. And we're just going to simmer this out for at least, I would say at least minimum 2 hours. Okay?
Okay. So now we got the sauce, one of the sauces in the back cooking down on low and slow, as they say, yeah?
Right.
And we're prepping the next sauce.
That's right. We don't want to break it down to a complete pulp, right? We want to leave it as intact as it can be so that it doesn't get too sour on us, okay?
And all this impacts the outcome of the sauce flavor, you know? Like we're slicing the garlic here, and the other one we just crushed it and we put it in the pan. All that impacts the end result, just so you know.
So we're gonna take our garlic, okay, just like that, and we do not want this to burn, okay? So we're gonna add our garlic into here, and we're gonna give it a little shake on the stove. Now you're gonna add in your herbs, okay? We're gonna fry in the thyme, and you're gonna hear it start to snap, crackle, and pop, okay? All that is the moisture in the thyme leaves getting extracted into the oil and evaporating, so that all we're left with in that oil is that beautiful thyme flavor. I can already see here I have some color on my garlic.
Yeah.
Now that pan's gonna be really hot. I'm just gonna remove it from the heat and just leave it here because it's too hot. If I leave it on the stove and continue, it's gonna burn. All right, so next we're gonna slice our cherry tomatoes just in half, okay? Now, one way to do it a little bit faster and safer is you take your plate, you put another one on top, and you put your knife right between the two, you hold it down, and you can cut through your cherry tomatoes all in one shot. Okay? And then you have beautifully cut in half cherry tomatoes, no mess, no Band-Aids needed.
Sweet.
Ready to go.
That's awesome.
Okay, so now we're gonna go back on the stove here, and now we're gonna add in our tomatoes.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna let them get a little bit of color,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna add a touch of water just to help get the other water going and releasing from the tomato itself.
Okay.
I'm gonna put a lid on it, and I'm gonna throw a knob of butter in at the same time.
Okay.
And that's just gonna help everything start to break down and stew, and we're gonna turn the heat down low and let it simmer away. So now things are starting to happen here. I'm starting to get a little bit of caramelization on the bottom here.
Yep.
Right?
And I can see some of that tomato water leaching out as well.
Right, so now we're gonna give it a little bit of a boost. Okay, we're gonna give it a splash of water. You could use chicken stock, you could use vegetable stock, whatever you prefer.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and we're gonna throw a couple knobs of butter in here. Okay, and now we're gonna put a lid on it. And we're gonna turn the temperature way down to like medium-low heat.
Yeah.
And we're gonna let that stew for about half an hour.
So while the sauce is reducing behind us here, let's talk about the name game. Parmigiana doesn't actually come from Parmesan cheese. There are a few theories. One says it's named after the city of Parma. Another suggests it comes from the Sicilian word damigiana, the wicker sleeve used for wine bottles that resembles the casserole dish. And a third theory points to palmigiana, referring to roof slats that look like layered eggplant. Honestly, food historians still argue about it, but we all agree it's delicious. So, sauce is simmering, reducing. That's one part of the dish.
Right. Next part we're gonna set up is more part of our mise en place. We are going to get organized, get everything in its place for the breading station. So first thing we're gonna do is our chicken will hit the flour. That'll make it nice and tacky. And we're gonna go into the egg, and we're gonna go into the breadcrumb. Everything's gonna stick to each other. We're gonna season every ingredient so that our seasoning is always at the maximum and everything has flavor.
Got it. So you're seasoning the flour, you mean? And
We're seasoning the flour, the eggs, the breadcrumb. We are gonna be adding a little bit of garlic powder and a little bit of onion powder. I have it divided here in my bowl.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is a classic preparation for chicken parmigiana, correct?
There is no real classic preparation because there is no real tradition behind this specific dish.
Got it.
This is something we do in restaurants to elevate. I go as far as adding Parmesan cheese in my breadcrumb as well.
Okay.
And that'll help get you a better color, a better crunch, depth of flavor. Really nice. Okay.
Also some salt.
Well, we're also going in with the salt as well.
Okay.
Both sides here.
All right.
Pepper. Okay. Some eggs.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna poke our yolks. That'll help break it up easier.
Okay.
And you could just use a whisk and just kind of have at it with a fork just like that. Now that it's broken up, I'm gonna go ahead and add my salt and my pepper.
So we're seasoning the eggs as well.
Right.
Like you said, everything.
And mix together my flour. Everything has nice flavor. I'm not worried about it later. Everything is done already. And next up, we're gonna process our chicken.
Okay.
We're using a chicken breast at this point. This is far too thick, so we're gonna have to, basically, we call it butterflying. We're gonna cut this and butterfly it in half so it's in two.
Got it.
And then we're gonna use a mallet and we're gonna hammer it out so that the chicken is evenly spread out.
Yeah.
Nice and thin. It's one uniform thickness. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little bit of plastic wrap down. This is gonna do two things. It's gonna keep our board a little bit cleaner. So we don't love having raw chicken on our board. It's hard to get this salmonella bacteria out.
Okay.
So this is one way to kind of safeguard it.
Yeah.
And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your chicken breast like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're just gonna use a knife. We're gonna cut pretty much right through it. Okay, just like that. And once you cut a slit inside, you can go ahead and pull that open just so you can see where you're going.
Got it.
Because you don't want it to disconnect. You want them to still stay attached so you can have one nice large size portion of your chicken parm, okay?
We have our second layer of plastic wrap. Here we have our meat mallet, which I have called Mjolnir for those of us who like Marvel. And I'll hand it off to you here.
Yeah, this is definitely get the job done. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do very light, even taps. There's not a lot of structure inside of it. It's pretty low on connective tissue. We don't want it too thin. We don't want it too thick. Okay, like so. And we'll put it here and we'll do our next one. Okay, so next up, we're gonna season this. Okay, take a little bit of salt and pepper. So first we're gonna go flour, okay? So just give it a little tap just to make sure that every nook and cranny is covered, because we want our flour to get into everywhere. All the egg gets stuck to everything, and then we're into breadcrumb, and then we're ready to go, okay? So in it goes. Now I'm gonna turn it, and now we're gonna give it a little drop in there. And we're using panko breadcrumbs, not your traditionally used Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, right? Finer breadcrumb. I like the extra crunch from the panko myself, and because there is no real traditional recipe for this,
Right.
you can use anything you want.
In that sense, it's very similar to just a fried chicken in terms of what you're using to bread it with, right?
Correct.
And you mentioned panko. Can you explain what panko is?
So panko is a Japanese-style breadcrumb.
It's a Japanese-style bread.
So it's very, very coarse compared to the traditional fine breadcrumb.
Got it. What is the best way to make sure that your chicken parm does end up crispy and not soggy?
So my favorite method for that is after it's done frying,
Yeah.
we're gonna put it on a wire rack so it can drain properly so that it doesn't steam by sitting on a flat surface. If it sits on a flat surface, all the moisture and vapor coming out of the bottom of the actual chicken,
It's gonna cook.
it's gonna make it soggy on.
Right. We got our chicken breaded and now we're gonna fry it.
Right, so breaded, we have our wire rack over here where we're gonna transfer to after we keep it nice and crispy. We have our oil getting nice and hot.
Oh yeah.
So that's what you're looking for, okay? You want the bubbling effect,
Yeah.
okay? That means basically the moisture is coming out of the chicken.
Okay.
Okay, and that's gonna help in the process of getting it all nice and crispy, okay?
Got it.
So I like to add in a little bit of butter, and I actually like to add in a little bit of herbs, and this goes back to the Milanese style of sorts,
Right.
where you can add a little bit more flavor and herbs, just like that, okay? Okay, so we have all our aromatics working, they're doing their job. We got our garlic that we just kind of thrown in there.
Yeah.
To help get flavor into it as well.
Sure.
Anytime we can add flavor, we take that opportunity, okay? So this is basically the color you want.
Okay. Yeah, and I was gonna ask you,
Okay.
how do we know it's ready? And when,
Well, you have the beautiful golden brown color.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you don't want to go too dark because this is also going back in the oven to get reheated to melt the cheese. So if you go too dark on this initial process, it'll
Right.
burn in the oven.
I see.
Unless you completely blanket the entire parm with sauce, but then you lose a lot of crunch.
Got it.
Okay.
So that's the color we're looking for.
Pretty much, yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what we're going for.
Gorgeous.
You
Golden
want to
brown.
keep it golden, even, so here it's nice and crunchy, crispy the whole way through. Okay.
Okay, so sauces.
Okay, so now we're at the point here where I can remove my herbs here from my tomato sauce. So I'll take my thyme, I'll
Yeah.
just remove it. These little tweezers are pretty handy to have, so you can just kind of move things around, throw them in the garbage. And this is our regular tomato sauce here that's been nicely cooked down, okay? We're ready to go.
And you're gonna throw the torn basil into both or just one?
Into both. So
Okay.
I'm gonna add my freshly torn basil right in here, just like that.
And that's just gonna give it that extra punch.
Extra punch. Remember, the last thing you add is the first thing you taste. Okay, so now we're at a point where we can build, okay? So I have my mozzarella cheese and my Parmesan cheese here. I've got my cutlets that have been fried, ready to go. And now I'm gonna assemble it, but I'm not gonna put both of these sauces on top. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my first sauce here, my passata style sauce is gonna go on top. I'm gonna add my Parmesan cheese, my mozzarella. I'm gonna bake it in the oven. And then this one here is almost gonna be more like a finishing sauce to just get dolloped over top of that chicken parm when it comes out of the oven.
Oh.
Just like a flavor boost.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see.
Now this sauce would be delicious just tossed with some angel hair pasta, whatever you'd like, but we're using it as a real big punch of flavor to get you to that next level. So we're gonna put our sauce on. Now, one thing I'm big on is don't over sauce, because it
Right.
can make things pretty soggy.
Right.
So we're just gonna put a little bit, because you wanna be able to taste the chicken. You don't just wanna taste sauce and
Right.
cheese. Okay?
100%. Yeah.
Now we're gonna take our parm. Don't be shy.
This is the mainstream wet cheese combo that you'd use to make a chicken parm.
Some people use provolone.
Yeah.
It could be a little bit sharper, a little bit funkier.
Right.
That's fine, but that's what I would do. Now
Right.
for this, we go in the oven.
Got it. All right, so we pulled it out of the oven. Our cheese is melted. Can we eat finally?
No, we have to add our final sauce for on top.
Okay, you're killing me.
And we're using this more like a finishing condiment in a way. Okay.
Okay.
So just like we gotta keep that in perspective. So this is gonna have a more earthy, robust tomato sauce flavor, and this one here is gonna be more of a, I don't want to call it a relish or a sweet relish, but something like that. So I'm just gonna take my, you can hear it's still crispy.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're just gonna grab our chicken. We're gonna place it right here. And we can take our sauce, and you don't have to go too heavy with this one.
Right.
You just give a couple dollops.
Now, how much did this cost?
This probably would cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of $14.
And of course, the more you buy, the more you save.
Correct. So if you do this in bulk,
Yeah.
it would just be more cost effective way down the road. That's it, a little cracked pepper. And of course, a little bit more parm.
Of course.
And then I like a little bit of olive oil. And there we have it.
Can I eat that now?
Absolutely.
Thanks,
There
Jack.
you go.
All right. I'm gonna grab a little piece here. Pour me in a ton. Can't be wrong, chef.
If you think that's good, next week I'm gonna show you how to make pasta.
Can't wait.